Hello, all. This is John Blanton reporting for Political Talk in America, also known as Resident Libertarian on YouTube. You guys may have seen a few of my electoral analytics that I posted on the site. So I've already done one for the Presidential Electoral College. I've done one for a brief one for the U.S. Senate. My next one that I plan to do was for the U.S. House of Representatives. Now, obviously, reviewing all 435 seats is going to be would be a monumental task. The good news is there's really no need to do so because probably about 200 or so, or probably up to 300 of those seats are already decided before the next election. They're just so partisan that there's realistically only about 100 to 135 or so actual seats that are quote unquote competitive. So, what I've decided to do is look at the actual top 10 seats that Republicans would need to actually take back the House of Representatives. Currently, they would need a net gain of 19 or 20 to actually retake a bare minimum majority. The reason I say 19 or 20 is because we're waiting on the outcome of this election right here, which is yet to, because there is a do-over scheduled for September. So we really don't even have the final number yet. This is still the last election for the 2018 cycle. So until we know that outcome, we won't really have an idea of what the Republicans will have to do. And I do plan to do one for the Democrats as well for how many seats or what seats they would need to defend, and what possible pickup opportunities they still have, because there is still some low-hanging fruit on the vine for the Democrats to retake a couple of seats for the U.S. House to expand their majority, such as Georgia 6 or Georgia 7 right here would probably be the number one target I would be looking at. Or the one today that just got announced in Texas, Texas 22, which I believe right here on the outskirts of Houston. That's going to be Ted Olson has announced his retirement today, so that's going to be a prime pickup opportunity. But for now, I just want to focus on, just for the Republicans, these are the top 10 seats I would be focusing on for them to actually retake the majority. Now, the NRCC, they always announce their list, and they've announced about 50 seats they're going to go after. When the NRCC actually comes out and announces their target list, take about half of that with a grain of salt, because some of those are just such long shots that, yes, they are competitive, and they should be running at them because that's what elections are made of. The DCCC will also be having their list of potential targets that will come out, and again, same thing, take about half that list with a grain of salt. So I guess we'll just kind of dive in here and look at some of these seats that realistically Republicans should be targeting. So the first one I want to look at right here is this one right here, Minnesota 7, Collin Peterson's district. Collin Peterson's been around really since the early 90s, first elected in 91. He's probably the most conservative to moderate Democrat in the U.S. House. He's also representing the district. He's the top Democrat representing a district that Trump won. Trump won this district by 30 points. So a Democrat in this district, you look at that numbers, you're like, what the hell? Romney carried this district by 53 to 44. So this is just a huge swing in the Republican direction. I mean, as you can see, this is a very rural district, encompasses mostly about just the entire western half of the entire state of Minnesota. Peterson has had pretty comfortable margins. I mean, up until 2008, he was winning by 30 points regularly. So, yeah, I mean, this guy's been around. He knows his district. He can win. But right around 2010, the Tea Party wave came in. The GOP actually really started targeting his district in 2010. He won by only 18 points. He came back a little bit in 2012, won by 26. But 2014, his margins were down to 9 points, 2016, 5 points, and 2018, just a hair over 5 points. So he actually stated in 2012 he was actually possibly going to retire. But the Republicans kind of started overplaying their hand a little bit, and he accused them of being really dirty sportsmen. The RNC started like following him around Washington. He accused them of going through his trash, hiring special investigators. So he's basically said, yeah, look, you want my seat that bad, you're going to have to work for it. So he has stated he's going to run, through 2020, but for a rural Democrat, it's a rare breed. And Peterson, I've called him, the Joe Manchin of the Midwest. I mean, because he's probably the only Democrat that can win this district. But the Republicans really should be making a real monumental effort, because when he does retire, this will be a prime opportunity. But I would say, if I was the RNC, I'd be like, look, you need to run at him, outspend him. There's enough margin here that if Trump can win this district, there's no reason you cannot beat this guy. But like I said, he knows this district, and he says he can pull it off. He has not officially announced he's running in 2020, but the odds are he will. And look, he's proved the guy wrong. He's proven time and again he can take on whoever the GOP throws at him. But that doesn't mean the GOP shouldn't be throwing somebody at him. So that's probably one of the prime targets I would look at. Okay, so let's back out here. Okay, let's move a little bit south here, and Iowa 2. Okay, so this is actually the only open seat I'm going to be talking about. Dave Losbach, he actually announced earlier this year he's going to retire. You can see, he won by a pretty comfortable margin, but at the same time, he's winning by 12 points. But an open seat in a district that Trump carried by 4 points, you're losing the incumbency advantage there. So Obama did carry this district by about 13 points. So this is a very rural district, suburban Des Moines, but at the same time, Iowa has just shifted. It went big in Trump's direction in 2016. So this is one definitely the GOP should be targeting. They do have the funny thing is, so their front runner right now for the RNC for the Republican nomination is actually a former congressman from Illinois, Bobby Schilling, who represented I believe it was the 7th district. Let me double check that. I think that was the old Sherry Busteau district. Let's see. Yeah, there it is, Sherry Busteau. Yeah, this was actually a district that, so right next door. This district was redone in 2012, really just to make her a little bit more safer. So he's crossing the border over here. So it's a long shot, but no, not really a long shot. But at the same time, this is one that is prime opportunity for the GOP, because this is probably a very true toss-up, with an open seat that Trump carried. So that's one definitely to keep your eye on. Okay, let's move a little bit down south. South Carolina 1. Okay, so this is the old Mark Sanford seat. A little bit of history with this. So Mark Sanford, the old former governor of South Carolina, left office kind of in disgrace a little bit. He had that extramarital affair. He said he was on the Appalachian Trail. I believe he was down in actually Argentina with his mistress. So you do the math on that one. He made his comeback in 2012. He won the first district. He really, I think he was part of the Freedom Caucus. I believe he, not really libertarian, but at the same time, more fiscal conservative than anything. Did not like Donald Trump when he came on the scene. Attacked Trump constantly. And as the end result, Katie Arrington defeated him in the primary, and in the end result was she lost her race by, it looks like 49.3, so just about a point and a half. There's some speculation of why. My theory is, in a district that Trump won by, how much did Trump win this one? Trump won this one by 13 points. I think the primary wounds, I think there was just a lot of Sanford voters who just said, I'm not voting for this woman. And there was a huge fundraising gap. Cunningham just outspent Arrington. And look, this was just kind of, I don't want to say this was a fluke election, but I think you have just a bad combination of events that realistically, a Democrat did end up winning. So this is definitely a prime opportunity for Republicans if they put the right candidate in there. Oh, Katie Arrington, she actually just got hired by the DOT that Trump appointed her. She was a huge Trump fan back in 2018. So Trump actually, that was another thing. Arrington was endorsed by Trump, but Sanford refused to endorse her as well. So Sanford, just being bitter about the whole thing, just threw his hands up and said, I'm done. So but again, this is just a district that, realistically the Republicans should be targeting, because this is a prime pickup opportunity. Okay, so let's move over to my home state, the state of Georgia. I'm going to talk about this one for a few minutes because this is one I really am very interested in. So Georgia's 6th. So this is the wealthiest district in the state. This is the northern Atlanta suburbs, North Fulton County, Cobb County, North DeKalb. So this is definitely one that has just, this is kind of the microcosm of what happened in 2018. Lucy McBath, she beat out Karen Handel. This was also the site of the Karen Handel John Ossoff race, where Karen Handel only won by 5 points. This seat, Trump won by only a point and a half, which 4 years earlier, Romney was winning by 23 points. I believe Johnny Isakson in the Senate race, I believe he carried this district by about 20 points. I believe that was the correct margin. This was also the site of the most expensive House race ever in that special election. But Karen Handel, I think she was just too weak of a candidate, for the district. McBath has been pretty moderate, but at the same time, her main issue has been gun control. So it stands that this is definitely in more moderate tradition of the suburbs. The one thing I do want to mention also a little bit about Georgia, just kind of what's happening in the state. So up until the year 2000, the Democrats pretty much controlled everything. They controlled both chambers of the state legislature, of the General Assembly, controlled the governor's mansion. They redistricted after the 2000 census tried to make it a little bit more harder for Republicans, but 2002 they just got blown out of the water. So they, they were able to hang on to a couple of seats. Up until recently. So this seat right here was actually held by, this is the old Jim Marshall seat. He held on until about 2010 when he lost in the Tea Party wave, finally. And then this seat right here, incumbent Rick Allen, this is the old John Barrow seat. Barrow was able to hang on until 2014. His district used to be a little bit more friendly to him up until 2010. It stretched all the way from Augusta here, a little bit more further south to Savannah. They redistricted him, kind of made it a little bit more harder, but he was able to pull it off for a couple of times. But 2014, his luck just ran out. Most of the other seats, this is the old Jack Kingston seat. He retired to try to run for Senate. David Perdue ended up winning in 2014 in the Republican primary. Barry Loudermilk, he's safe. Doug Collins. Tom Graves, there's realists, and Jody Hice, he's not going anywhere anytime soon. So what's probably going to end up happening, and then this is the other open seat that's going to happen. This was the closest House race in the entire country right here. Woodall was able to beat Carol Bordeaux by about, looks like 400 votes. So this is I'll talk about this district next time, but this is what's happening here it just shows that the northern suburbs have become just prime territory for the Democrats. My district right here, this is the 3rd district, Drew Ferguson. So what I predict is going to happen after the 2020 census, depending on who wins these two districts, my prediction is probably if the Republicans maintain control of the state legislature, they do have the governorship. They'll probably redistrict these into one safe Democratic district. Maybe fiddle a little bit around here with Sanford Bishop's seat. Maybe pull in a little bit. Maybe give him some more Republicans up in here. Pull in a few because the southern part of the state is fairly conservative. When you get a little bit further north up into the Columbus area, you get closer, to a little more Democratic-friendly territory, and also you got the outskirts of Macon right here. They'll probably fiddle around with this seat because when Bishop retires, he's been around since 1993, I believe. It'll make this open seat. It's competitive, but it's a majority district, so it's going to be interesting what's going to happen with these lines. The northern part of Fayette County right in here is getting a little bit more diverse. Clayton County, it's always been diverse. Henry County over here, it finally flipped in 2016. No, was it 2016? No, 2018 is when it finally flipped into Democrats' favor. So they'll probably fiddle around with these districts a little bit, but it's going to be interesting what's going to happen. So that's my little rant on Georgia congressional districts. Okay, so back out a little bit. So where else should we look? Okay, so this district right here, okay, Kansas, or sorry, Oklahoma 5. Okay, so this was probably the biggest upset in 2018. Kendra Horn, she outspent Steve Russell, who pretty much was asleep at the wheel the entire time. Kendra Horn's been around the Democratic well for a little while. I think she ran the 2014 Democratic nominees government campaign committee. She, I believe, won by about, let's see, she won by about 5,000 votes. So very close election. This district, Trump won by 14 points in 2016. So obviously this was a huge swing. Romney won it by 19 points. So definitely against the Republican direction, but it's still a Republican district. It's taking in Oklahoma City into the suburbs. So this is one that if Republicans are not winning this one on election night next year, there's a problem. Because this is one Republicans should be targeting and are going to be able to win. If they're not winning this, their likelihood of winning the House back is slim to none. Okay, so where else should we look? Okay, so Utah 4. Okay, so this is interesting because Utah has was never really a friendly state. This was you had a third party candidate running against Donald Trump in the state, Evan McMullin. So it's going to be interesting because Mia Love. She lost by it looks like about 700 votes in the final tally. Mia Love she kind of went against Trump, which goes against the conventional wisdom because Utahns they've been lukewarm to Trump. They loved Romney, so that's just one thing to keep in mind. So it's kind of hard to tell, because I believe Trump only won this by 7 points, but he won it in a plurality. No candidate actually got a majority of the vote. Ben McAdams, he's been pretty conservative. He's been a blue dog. He's pro-life, pro-gun. I'm not sure if Mia Love is actually going to run again. She's kind of been hinting at it, but if she does, she'll definitely give him a run for his money. But it's going to be interesting who the Republicans could actually pull out to win this. But it's one they definitely should be targeting because it is within reach. And being a presidential year, we'll have to see, if Trump's margins improve in Utah. So we'll keep an eye on this one. Okay. So let's move back up to the Northeast. So this one right here. So New York 22 is pretty interesting. I don't believe a Democrat has represented this area. I think since I'd have to go back. I believe since like the 1970s. So this was a big flip, kind of an upset. Anthony Brindisi, he's a blue dog Democrat, fairly conservative. Trump won here 54-39, so a little bit more rural tradition, moving in the Republican direction. Romney managed to carry this district by about a point. Claudia Tenney basically just had a disaster I believe she was only serving one term in the House. She basically, for lack of a better term, just went mental during the primary or during the campaign. She actually defended. She was on the radio weekly. She was defending, Cohen, Manafort, and Michael Flynn. She made the statement that all mass shooters are Democrats, which is a ridiculous statement. She just basically imploded during the campaign, and you could see it kind of showed because Brindisi was only able to pull it out by about looks about 4,000 votes, so pretty close election. So this is one Republicans definitely need to be targeting because it is it's a fairly rural district, Utica, New York, but the surrounding area. This is prime Republican territory that they definitely can win, but they have to have the right candidate with the right discipline to really make a go at it. So we'll keep an eye on this one as well. So let's move up to the most northeastern district that we have. Okay, so Maine 2. Okay, so this one was interesting. So Bruce Baldwin, I believe he was elected in 2014. He definitely embraced Trump quite a bit. Jared Golden, who did end up was successful, but I believe he's been fairly moderate in the U.S. House. The funny thing was Baldwin actually beat him in the popular vote, but because of the ranked choice voting, it actually ended up in in Jared Golden's favor. Trump carried this district by about 10 points, which Romney lost it by 52-44. So, and Trump actually did win the electoral vote from this district as well. So it's interesting that, and I believe Paul Quinn actually sued a couple of times, and I believe the district court just eventually threw it out. The governor, the outgoing Republican governor, when he was going out, and he actually had to sign and certify the election. I believe there was a report that he actually wrote "stolen election" on the ballot, on the certificate, which I just find that hilarious. I mean, you got sore losers, and then there's sore losers. So definitely this is one that Republicans should be targeting. It's definitely within reach. It's always been a swingy district. I mean, the Republicans, when they picked it up in 2014, I think it was kind of a shocker they did, but with the ranked choice voting, they're going to have a Republican that can win over a majority. So definitely one to keep an eye on, and we'll keep track of it for a while. Okay, so two more. Virginia 2. This one right here. Okay, so this is Virginia Beach. This is the Elaine Loria. She's been fairly moderate in her voting record. As you can see, she was able to win just by a hair over 2 points against Scott Taylor. I believe he was a one-termer. Yeah, he replaced Scott Rigell, who was the one of the few House members who jumped ship in 2016. Did not endorse Trump. Actually, I think he was the only. Yeah, he was the only House member, if I'm not mistaken, actually endorsed Gary Johnson for Libertarian candidate. Trump was able to pull this one off by 4 points, I believe. The speculation that why Loria was actually able to win this, so there was some allegations from the Scott campaign Taylor campaign, that they were actually, there was a third-party independent that was trying to get on the ballot, so they were actually pushing to get the independent, who was a more left-leaning candidate, on the ballot to actually pull votes from the Democratic nominee, but somebody actually made the accusation that there were fraudulent ballots, and then it just turned into a huge mess. I believe that case is actually still open, so I don't want to comment too much on it, but it's something to keep an eye on. But this is a district that definitely want to keep an eye on it. So Trump carried it by 4, Romney lost it by 2. This is one that, in Virginia, it's the northern suburbs have just, trended away from the Republicans, while the southern part is still fairly, in conservative hands. But it's definitely one that, it's a state that's definitely trending in the wrong direction. But this is one district that Republicans can keep competitive, and they should be able to, make a good effort to really take it back. But it's going to be interesting because it will be a close race next time, no matter who the Democrats or the Republicans actually throw up against the Democrats. So, and the last one I want to talk about, this last one's kind of a long shot, but I do want to mention it. And Eric, this is your backyard, so you feel free to comment on. You tell me what I'm missing here. But this seat right here, Arizona 2, and Kirkpatrick, I look at it and I say, yeah, maybe, but Kirkpatrick, she's played enough electoral hopscotch for the last decade that, where is she going to end up? She'll, that's the thing. Okay, but basically so Trump actually lost this district by 5 points. But it does have a history of electing Republicans. This is the old Martha McSally seat. But just kind of brief mention of where Kirkpatrick's actually been. So she first elected in. So I believe she was elected into the 1st district, which looked different. I believe it actually was more northwestern portion of Arizona. I'd have to look at the district map, but yeah, she was first elected in the 1st district. She lost in 2010 to Dr. Paul Gosar, who was able to defeat her, but then she made her comeback in 2012. So Gosar ended up moving to the 4th district right here, and I believe let's see. So yeah, she ended up winning in the. She ended up running in the 1st district. Yeah, so right here. So she defeated where she ran against Jonathan Patton. She defeated him by 3 points, so she won re-election she won re-election in 2014 against Andy Tobin. So she retired in 2016, deciding to run for Senate. But she lost to John McCain by about 13 points. She again decided to make another comeback, and then she moved down here to this district, the 2nd district, because Martha McSally was retiring to run for Senate herself, and she ended up defeating Leah Marquez Peterson. So again, Kirkpatrick's been around the state. She's fairly moderate to slash liberal. I mean, so she's definitely battle tested, but it's still, a 9-point race. It's nothing to sneeze out. But, if the Republicans can find the right candidate, they can definitely keep this a little bit more competitive. And being a presidential year, it's definitely a different dynamic. So, this is one to keep an eye. I wouldn't get my hopes up to defeating Kirkpatrick because, again, like I said, she is battle tested. She's been around the state. So, but one Republicans should definitely be targeting because, the more they spend here, the more Democrats will have to spend to actually defend this seat. So those are my top 10 races. They're obviously, like I said, the Republicans are going to need more than that if they actually want to hope to retake the majority. And like I said, I'm going to do one for the Democrats as well, which I'm getting my notes together on as well. So thank you guys for listening. Hope you guys have a great night, and let me know exactly what you guys think. Good night.